Captain Jun Kim pulled his worn jacket tighter as he stepped off his small ship onto the dirty landing pad. The air on Terrell smelled like fuel and cooking spices. This trading outpost sat at the edge of human space, a place where many species came to do business away from strict laws. Jun had not been here in 10 years. Back then, he wore a military uniform and carried better weapons. Now he was just another trader looking for what he was owed. He walked through the busy market. Strange foods and shiny objects filled the stalls. Four-armed sellers shouted prices. Tall, thin aliens with gray skin moved silently through the crowd. Jun ignored it all. He was here for one reason only. "You sure the Vorlaxian is still here?" Jun asked a small green alien cleaning glasses behind a bar. The bartender's eyes blinked sideways. "Moktal. That old fool hasn't left in years. Check the back tables." Jun dropped a coin on the counter and moved deeper into the dark bar. The smell of strong drinks and strange smoke filled the air. In the farthest corner, he saw what he was looking for, an old alien with faded blue scales and drooping head frills. "Moktal," Jun said, standing over the table. The alien looked up slowly. His eyes widened, and the frills on his head stretched out in surprise. "Captain Kim, is that really you?" His voice sounded dry and weak. "It's me. May I sit?" Moktal waved a three-fingered hand at the empty chair. "I knew this day would come." Jun sat down, keeping his back to the wall out of old habit. 10 years is a long time to wait. Not for my people. "We lived 3 of your lifetimes," Moktal said. His scales looked dull, and some were missing. He was not aging well. "The expansion treaty expires in 2 weeks, Jun said. "I need to file my claim before then." Moktal nodded slowly. "The asteroid belt in the Chorus system, I remember. Rich with minerals no one has touched. I saved your life during the pirate attack," Jun said. "You promised me funding to secure that claim when I was ready. I remember every detail. Human." Moktal's voice grew stronger as he spoke. "You killed 3 pirates who had me cornered. You took a blade in your shoulder that was meant for me." Jun touched his left shoulder where the old scar still ached when it rained. "Then you know why I'm here." The alien looked down at his drink. "Things have not gone well for me, Captain. The war ruined many trade routes. My ships were taken. My business died." Jun felt his hope sinking. "You have nothing. Nothing of value, except one thing." Moktal's eyes shifted nervously. "But we should discuss it somewhere private." Something in the alien's tone made Jun uneasy. "My ship is nearby." They walked back through the market in silence. Jun noticed how other aliens moved away from Moktal, as if he carried some disease. The old trader had fallen far from the respected merchant he once was. Inside Jun's small ship, they sat in a cramped kitchen area. Moktal looked around at the clean but simple space. "You never took that military commission they offered you," he said. "I wanted my freedom," Jun replied. "Now I need that claim. If another species files first when the treaty expires, humans will lose the chance forever." Moktal's head frills flattened against his skull. "I cannot give you money or ships, Captain, but I have one thing left that might help you." "What's that?" The old alien's eyes met Jun's. "My daughter." "Nah." Jun stared, not understanding. "Your daughter?" "Yes," Moktal said. "In my culture, family members can serve to pay debts. Na is young, smart, and strong. She can work for you until my debt is paid." Jun felt his stomach turn cold. "That sounds like slavery." "No," Moktal said quickly. "It is honor. It is how we keep our word when we have nothing else to give." Jun stood up, anger rising in his chest. "I didn't save your life so you could sell me your child." "Please," Moktal said, his voice breaking. "At least meet her before you decide. She has agreed to this." Captain Jun Kim looked down at the desperate alien and wondered what kind of mess he had just walked into. Jun paced the small living area of his ship. The idea of taking someone's daughter as payment made his skin crawl. It went against everything he believed. I need to understand this better, Jun said, stopping to face Moktul. In human culture, what you suggest would be wrong. Moktul's frills drooped further. Among Vorlaxians, family honor is everything. Nay knows this. She was raised to understand our ways. How old is she? Jun asked. 26 of your Earth years. An adult by both our standards. Jun ran a hand through his short black hair. And she agreed to this. She suggested it, Moktul said quietly. When I told her of my debt to you, she offered herself. The ship's communication panel beeped. Jun checked the screen and frowned. Port Authority. They're asking about an unregistered Vorlaxian on my ship. He looked at Moktul with new suspicion. Something you forgot to tell me. The old alien scales seemed to pale. I have some minor legal troubles. Nothing serious. Nothing serious that got the authorities involved. Jun's hand moved closer to the small blaster on his hip. Please, Moktul begged. I owe money to many people, but my debt to you is sacred. Na is waiting at my home. If you meet her, you'll understand. Jun thought for a moment. I'll see her, but I make no promises. They left the ship through the service exit to avoid the Port Authority. Moktul led Jun through narrow back streets, where the sunlight barely reached. They passed homes built from shipping containers and old ship parts. You live here? Jun asked. For the last 3 years, Moktul answered. Before that, we had a proper home. They stopped at a small dwelling made from an old escape pod. Moktul placed his hand on a worn scanner, and the door slid open with a grinding noise. Nah, I have brought him, Moktul called. The inside of the home was surprisingly clean and ordered. Plants grew in carefully arranged pots. The walls were covered with star charts and diagrams of ship engines. A young Vorlaxian female stepped into the room. Her scales were of vibrant blue-green, and her head frills were shorter than Moktul's but more colorful. She wore simple clothes, but they were neat and well-made. Captain Kim, she said in perfect common with only a slight accent. I am Na. Thank you for coming. Jun nodded, unsure what to say. He had expected someone frightened or angry, not this calm, composed person. I'll make tea, she said, moving to a small cooking area. Na has been studying human culture for years, Moktul explained. She speaks 3 human languages. Jun watched as she prepared the tea with practiced movements. Why would you agree to work off your father's debt? Na turned to face him. Because I wish to leave this place. Because a debt of honor must be paid. And because working with a human offers opportunities I would never have here. She brought 3 cups of steaming tea and set them on a low table. What opportunities? Jun asked. Female Vorlaxians cannot own businesses or property, Na explained. We cannot travel alone or make contracts. We are always under the protection of males. Protection, Jun repeated. Control, Na corrected. My father is unusual. He allowed me to study, to learn. Most would not. Jun sipped the tea. It tasted like earth green tea with a hint of something sweet. What skills do you have? He asked. I am trained in geology and mineral analysis. I can operate most standard chip systems. I can cook food from 6 different worlds. Her eyes met his directly. I would be useful on your mining claim. Jun nearly choked on his tea. How do you know about that? My father has told me everything about you, Captain. I know what you seek in the chorus system. Jun set down his cup. I won't take you as payment for a debt. That's not how humans do things. Na's frills flattened slightly. Disappointment, Jun guessed. But, he continued, I could hire you. A proper contract, with fair pay. Na's frills rose again. You would do this. It honors the debt without treating you like property, Jun said. If you have the skills you claim, I could use the help. Moktul made a strange sound. Jun realized the old alien was crying. Thank you, Captain, Moktul said. You are as honorable as I remembered. Na looked at her father. Then back to June. When do we leave? The next morning, June arrived early at Mocktel's home. He brought a standard work contract on his datapad, modified for their unusual situation. When Nay opened the door, she was already dressed for travel. A single small bag sat by her feet. "Is that all you're bringing?" June asked, surprised. "I have little to bring," Nay replied. "What I need most cannot be carried in bags." Mocktel shuffled into the room, looking even older in the morning light. "You have prepared the contract." June nodded and handed the datapad to Na. "Read it carefully. This is a real job, not servitude. You can quit any time." Na studied the contract, her eyes moving quickly through the text. "The pay is more than I expected. It's standard for a mining operations specialist," June said. "If you have the skills you claim." "I do." Nay pressed her thumb to the screen, leaving a glowing print. "I accept these terms." June signed his part, then handed a copy to Mocktel. "With this, I consider your debt paid in full." The old alien took the pad with shaking hands. "Thank you, Captain. You honor my family." "Father," Nay said, touching Mocktel's arm. "It is time." Their goodbye was brief. Vorlaxians did not hug or kiss. Na placed her forehead against her father's for a moment, their frills touching lightly. June looked away, feeling like he was watching something private. "Let's go," June said when they finished. "We need to leave before the Port Authority comes looking for your father again." They moved through the back streets quickly. Nay kept pace easily, her steps light and sure. "What did your father do to get in trouble with the authorities?" June asked as they approached the spaceport. "He borrowed money from a Haxan loan shark," Nay explained. "The interest was too high. When he couldn't pay, they reported him for tax violations." "Haxans," June muttered, "always looking for a way to squeeze credits from people." At the edge of the landing area, June stopped. "Wait here. I need to check if it's clear." He moved forward alone, scanning the area around his ship. 2 Port Authority officers stood nearby, checking ships and datapads. June returned to Na. "We have a problem." "I see them," Na said. "I have an idea. May I have your trader's license?" June hesitated, then handed her the small card. Na took off her outer jacket, revealing a simple but elegant blue top. She loosened her hair from its tight arrangement, letting it fall around her face. "What are you doing?" June asked. "Being a distraction," Na said. "Wait 2 minutes, then go to your ship and start the engines." Before he could object, Nay walked directly toward the officers. Her walk changed, becoming more fluid. She was using her alien nature to seem exotic and interesting. June couldn't hear what she said, but the officers turned away from the ships, giving her their full attention. She showed them June's trader's license, pointing toward the market area. Taking his chance, June moved quickly to his ship. He opened the hatch and slipped inside, starting the pre-flight sequence immediately. Through the viewport, he could see Na still talking to the officers, who were now laughing at something she said. Just as the engines warmed up, Nay bowed politely to the officers and walked away, not toward June's ship, but toward the market. The officers watched her go, then turned back to their duties. June cursed under his breath. Had she changed her mind? Was this all a trick? A soft knock on the cargo door made him jump. He opened it to find Na climbing in through the lower hatch. "How did you?" "I went around the back," she said simply. "They are watching the front." June couldn't help but smile. "Clever." "We should leave now," Na said, securing herself in the co-pilot's seat as if she'd done it 100 times before. "They will check your license information soon." June took the pilot's seat and finished the launch sequence. As the ship lifted off, Nay looked out the viewport at the dirty spaceport growing smaller below them. "Have you been off-planet before?" June asked. "No," Na said. Her frills moved in a way June couldn't interpret. "This is my first time seeing the stars up close." As they broke through the atmosphere into open space, Na's eyes widened. the dark expanse filled with countless stars spread out before them. "It's more beautiful than I imagined," she whispered. June set the course for the chorus system. "Welcome to your new job. Nah. It's going to be an interesting journey." June's ship, the Star Runner, was small but comfortable. It had one main room that served as kitchen, living area, and workspace. Two tiny sleeping rooms sat on either side. The cockpit at the front had just enough space for 2 people. "You'll sleep here," Jun said, showing Nay the room on the right. "It's small, but private." Nay looked at the simple bed and storage box. "It is twice the size of my sleeping space at home." They settled into a routine as the ship moved through space. June handled the flying and navigation. Nay studied the maps of the chorus system and prepared their meals. At first, they spoke little. June was not used to having someone else on his ship. Nay watched him carefully, learning his habits. On the 3rd day, June found Nay in the cockpit, looking at the ship's controls. "What are you doing?" he asked, more curious than angry. "Learning," Nay replied. "This control panel is similar to the simulators I studied." "You know how to fly." "In theory. I have never had the chance to try." Her frills moved in what June was beginning to recognize as excitement. June hesitated, then sat in the co-pilot's seat. "Show me." Nat took the pilot's chair and placed her hands on the controls. Her movements were careful but confident. She adjusted the ship's course slightly, keeping them on their path. "Not bad," June admitted. "Where did you learn this?" "I traded cleaning services at the spaceport for time on their training computers," Na explained. "The night manager let me use them when no one was around." June was impressed, but tried not to show it. "What else can you do that you haven't told me?" Na's frills moved in a pattern he hadn't seen before. It took him a moment to realize she was laughing. "Many things, Captain. We have time for you to find out." The next day, they reviewed the mining plans together. June spread the maps across the small table in the main room. "These are the asteroids I want to claim," he explained, pointing to a cluster of dots. "Initial scans show they're rich in rare metals." Na studied the data carefully. "These readings are old." 5 years, June admitted. "It was all I could get." Na touched a section of the map. "This area interests me most. The mineral pattern suggests deeper deposits than what shows on the surface." "How can you tell that from these basic scans?" "Vorlaxians were miners before we became traders," Na said. "My people can see patterns in rock formations that others miss." June was about to ask more when the ship's alarm sounded. The screen flashed red. "Ship approaching," June said, rushing to the cockpit. Nay followed close behind. A large vessel appeared on their scanner. It was moving directly toward them. "Haxan patrol ship," June said grimly. "They control this sector until the treaty expires." The communication system crackled. "Human vessel, this is the Haxan Security Force. Prepare for boarding and inspection." June's face darkened. "If they find out where we're going, they'll try to reach the claim first." "Let me speak to them," Nay said suddenly. "You? Why would they listen to you?" "Haxans respect Vorlaxians, even female ones," Na explained. "And I know their customs." June looked doubtful, but the Haxan ship was getting closer. "Fine. What do we do?" "First, I need to change clothes," Na said, hurrying to her room. She returned wearing a formal Vorlaxian garment with bright colors and complex patterns. "Now send a message that a Vorlaxian cultural attaché is on board and requests permission to greet them properly." June sent the message. The Haxan ship slowed its approach. "What now?" he asked. "Now," Nay said, straightening her clothes, "we give them a show." When the Haxan commander appeared on the screen, Nay began speaking in the harsh Haxan language. Her frills moved in elaborate patterns as she made formal hand gestures. The commander looked surprised but responded with similar gestures. They spoke for several minutes while June watched in amazement. Finally, Na bowed deeply. The commander nodded and ended the transmission. "What did you say?" June asked as the Haxan ship changed course, moving away from them. "I told him we are on a religious journey to honor my ancestors' spirit," Na said. "To stop us would bring great dishonor." June stared at her, and he believed that. "Haxans are very superstitious," Na said with another movement of her frills that June now recognized as a smile, "and very afraid of dishonor." As the Haxan ship disappeared from their scanners, June looked at Na with new respect. "I think I'm going to be very glad I hired you," he said. After 6 days of travel, they finally reached the Chorus asteroid belt. Thousands of rocks, from tiny pebbles to massive chunks the size of small moons, floated in a wide band around a distant red star. "There," June said, pointing to a cluster of medium-sized asteroids. "That's our target." Ness studied the scanner. "The composition readings are very strong, much better than your old scans showed." The Star Runner slowed as they approached the first asteroid. It was roughly oval-shaped, about 2 kilometers long. Its surface was dark gray with streaks of reddish-brown. "We need to land and set up the claim marker," June explained. "Then take samples to prove the value before filing the official claim." Not check the equipment. The mining scanner is ready. I've also prepared the sample containers. June brought the ship down carefully on a flat area of the asteroid's surface. The gravity was very weak, just enough to hold the ship in place. They put on their spacesuits and checked each other's seals and oxygen levels. "Stay close to me," June said. "The surface can be tricky." They stepped out onto the asteroid. Their magnetic boots kept them from floating away. But walking was still strange. Each step was like a small jump. Na moved more gracefully than June expected. Her Vorlaxian body seemed well suited to the low gravity. "This way," June said, pointing to a spot about 50 meters away. That's where the strongest readings were. They walked carefully, carrying their equipment. Na stopped suddenly, kneeling to look at something. "What is it?" June asked through the suit's communication system. "Look at these marks," Na said, pointing to some scratches on the rock surface. "Someone has been here recently." June knelt beside her. The marks were clearly made by tools, not natural forces. "Haxans?" he asked, his voice tight with worry. "Maybe. But these look like mining test cuts, not just survey marks." They continued to the spot where June wanted to place the claim marker. As they set up the equipment, Na used a handheld scanner to check the asteroid's composition. "June," she said, her voice excited. "These readings are amazing. This asteroid contains twice the rare metals we expected." June looked at the scanner. The numbers were higher than anything he'd seen before. "That can't be right," he said. "Check it again." Na recalibrated the scanner and tried once more. The readings were even higher. "This is incredible," she said. "With these metals, you could build 100 ships, maybe more." June's heart raced. This claim was worth far more than he had hoped, but the strange marks worried him. "We need to work fast," he said. "Set up the claim marker while I take samples." They worked quickly, fighting against time. The marker needed to broadcast its signal for at least 48 hours before the treaty expired to make the claim legal. As Na finished programming the marker, June collected rock samples from several spots. The scanner showed each one rich with valuable metals. "It's done," Na said. "The marker is active and broadcasting your registration code." "Good. Let's check the other asteroids in the cluster before we go back to the ship." They visited 3 more asteroids in the group. Each one showed high metal readings, though not as high as the first. On the last asteroid, Na found more tool marks. "These are fresh," she said. "Maybe only a few days old." June felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold of space. "We need to get back to the ship and contact the Human Mining Authority right away." As they walked back toward the Star Runner, a bright light flashed at the edge of the asteroid belt. "What was that?" Na asked. June used his suit's built-in binoculars to zoom in on the light. A large ship was moving slowly through the asteroids about 20 kilometers away. "Haxan mining vessel," he said grimly. "They're already here, searching for good claims before the treaty expires." "Will they find our marker?" Nay asked. "Eventually, but it's legal. They can't remove it without breaking the treaty." Back on the ship, Jung immediately sent their claim registration to the Human Mining Authority. The message would take several hours to reach Earth space. "Now we wait," he said, removing his helmet. Nay looked worried. "What if the Haxans try to take the claim by force? We have 3 days before the treaty expires. We need to start mining operations to strengthen our claim." "With just the two of us?" Nay asked. June smiled. "I brought some extra equipment. It's time to put your mining knowledge to the test." June unloaded the mining equipment from the Star Runner's cargo hold. He had a small drill, a portable refinery, and enough supplies to start a basic operation. "This is less than I hoped for," Nay said, examining the drill. "But I can make it work." For 2 days, they worked hard on the asteroid. Na proved to be skilled with the mining equipment. Her hands moved quickly and surely as she set up the refinery. Jun was impressed. "Where did you learn to do this?" "My grandfather was a mining engineer," Nay explained as she worked. "He taught me in secret. Female Vorlaxians are not supposed to learn such things." By the end of the 2nd day, they had collected enough ore to show the claim was active. The law required actual mining work, not just placing a marker. "The treaty expires tomorrow," Jum said as they ate a simple meal inside the ship. "Once it does, our claim should be safe." Nay looked tired but happy. "The ore samples are even better than we thought. The rare metals air." A loud beeping from the communication panel cut her off. June rushed to check it. "It's a distress signal," he said, his face serious. "Coming from the far side of this asteroid." "Another ship?" Nay asked, standing up. "Yes, they say their engines failed and they crash-landed. 3 crew members injured." Na moved to look at the screen. "Can you tell what kind of ship?" June checked the signal details. "It's Vorlaxian." They looked at each other in silence. The chances of another Vorlaxian ship being here were very small. "It could be a trap," Jun said quietly. "Or they could really need help," Nay replied. "We can't ignore it." June knew she was right. Space law required all ships to respond to distress calls. "We'll go together," he decided, "but we'll bring weapons." They put on their spacesuits again and took 2 small blasters from the ship's locker. The walk to the other side of the asteroid took almost 30 minutes. They found a small ship half buried in the asteroid's surface. It had Vorlaxian markings but looked old and worn. "Hello," June called through the suit's external speaker. "We received your distress call." The ship's door opened slowly. A male Vorlaxian appeared, his spacesuit torn at one arm. Blue blood stained the fabric. "Thank the stars," he said weakly. "We thought we would die here." 2 more Vorlaxians appeared behind him, both looking injured. Na moved forward. "We have medical supplies in our ship. We can help you." The lead Vorlaxian stepped out of his ship. "You are Vorlaxian," he said to Na, his voice changing. "Why are you with this human?" "I work for him," Nay said simply. "We are claiming this asteroid for mining." The 3 Vorlaxians looked at each other. June noticed that their injuries suddenly seemed less severe. "We should go back to our ship," June said to Na, his hand moving toward his blaster. "Wait," the lead Vorlaxian said. "We have something to tell you." He looked directly at Na. "Your father sent us." Na's frills flattened in surprise. "My father? Why would he send you here?" "The old fool had no choice," the Vorlaxian said with a cruel laugh. "The mining guild forced him. They want this asteroid field." June had his blaster out now. "Na, step back toward me." The Vorlaxian pulled out a small device. "This transmitter will call a Vorlaxian warship waiting nearby. They will be here in hours." "Why are you telling us this?" Nay asked, her voice shaking. Because you are Vorlaxian. Come with us. Leave the human. This claim should belong to our people, not his. Ne looked at June, then back at the three Vorlaxians. My father agreed to this. He had no choice, the leader repeated. The guild threatened to imprison him for his debts. Nasfril's moved in a pattern June now recognized as anger. You're lying. My father would never betray Captain Kim's trust, no matter what. The leader's patience ended. Enough talk. He reached inside his suit and pulled out a larger weapon. Step aside, female. We're taking the human ship and destroying his claim marker. Nah. Run, June shouted, firing his blaster at the Lid Vorlaxian. The shot hit the rock near the alien's feet. In the confusion, the third Vorlaxian threw something toward the Star Runner. It landed near the ship and exploded with a bright flash. No, Ne cried. The explosion damaged the ship's communication array. Sparks and smoke poured from the equipment. June fired again, forcing the Vorlaxians back into their ship. He grabbed Ne's arm, and they ran, using the large rocks for cover. They've disabled our communications, June said as they hid behind a boulder. We can't call for help. Ne looked back at the Vorlaxian ship, and they've already called for theirs. June and Ne crouched behind a large rock, watching the three Vorlaxians search for them. We need to get back to the ship, June whispered. Even with damaged communications, we can still fly. Nash shook her head. They'll be watching the ship. And they called for a warship. We wouldn't get far. Then what do we do? Nasfril's moved thoughtfully. We defend our claim. This is still your asteroid until the treaty expires. June smiled despite their danger. Our asteroid, he corrected. You're my partner now, not just an employee. Nasfril's colored slightly. A Vorlaxian blush, June realized. We need a plan, she said. They want to destroy the claim marker. We must protect it first. June checked his blaster's power level. I have about 20 shots left. You? 15, Ne replied. Not enough for a long fight. Then we need to be smart, not just strong. June looked around at the asteroid's rocky surface. Your people were miners. How can we use this environment against them? Na's eyes lit up. The mining tunnels we started. We could set traps. They moved carefully, keeping low, and using the rocks for cover. The Vorlaxians had split up to search for them. June and Ne made it back to their mining site unseen. The tunnel they had started was only about 10 meters deep, but it had 2 branches. Here's what we'll do, June said, outlining his plan. Working quickly, they set up their traps. They rigged the portable refinery to create a bright flash and smoke if triggered. They loosened rocks above one tunnel entrance so they would fall if bumped. Finally, they'd moved the claim marker deeper into the main tunnel for protection. Now we wait, June said as they took positions inside the tunnel. They'll come looking for the marker soon. They didn't wait long. Within an hour, they heard voices approaching. The marker signal is coming from here, one Vorlaxian said. Inside this tunnel. Be careful, said another. They could be waiting. 2 against 3, and we have better weapons, the leader replied. There's nothing to fear from a human and a female. June looked at Ne and rolled his eyes. She made a small movement with her frills that he now knew meant she was amused. The sound of footsteps grew closer. A shadow appeared at the tunnel entrance. Now, June whispered. Ne pressed a button on her remote control. The refinery exploded with light, and thick smoke poured from the tunnel entrance. The Vorlaxians shouted in surprise. 2 ran forward into the smoke while the leader stayed back. Just as they planned, one Vorlaxian went down the right branch where June waited. The other took the left branch where Ne had set the falling rock trap. A crash and a cry of pain told them the rock trap had worked. The Vorlaxian in the left tunnel was pinned under fallen stones. The one in June's tunnel moved more carefully. June pressed himself against the wall, waiting. When the Vorlaxian passed, Jun struck him hard on the back of his head with the butt of his blaster. The alien went down without a sound. Outside, the leader realized something was wrong. "Mick, Tor, report," he called. Jun nodded to Na. She stepped into the tunnel entrance, her blaster ready. "Your friends can't help you now," she said boldly. The leader raised his weapon, but hesitated. "You are betraying your own kind, female. For a human, I'm choosing my own path," Na replied. "Something your guild would never allow." The Vorlaxian fired, but Na was already moving. She ducked behind a rock as his shot hit the tunnel wall. Jun moved to another position and fired from a different angle. His shot caught the leader in the leg. The Vorlaxian fell with a cry of pain. Na rushed forward and kicked his weapon away. "It's over." They tied up all 3 Vorlaxians using cable from their mining equipment. The one under the rocks was injured but would live. The one Jun had knocked out was starting to wake up, groaning. The leader glared at them with hatred in his eyes. "You've gained nothing," he hissed. "The warship will be here soon." "How soon?" Jun demanded. "Hours, perhaps less." Jun looked at Na. "We need to repair the communications array. It's our only chance to call for help." "The damage looked bad," Na said, "but I might be able to fix it enough to send a basic signal." They left the Vorlaxians tied up in the tunnel and hurried back to the Star Runner. The communication array was a mess of burnt wires and broken parts. Na examined it carefully. "I need time, Jun. At least 2 hours." Jun looked up at the starry sky. Somewhere out there, a Vorlaxian warship was coming for them. "Start working," he said. "I'll keep watch for the warship." As Na began repairing the array, Jun prepared their defenses. They had survived the first attack, but the real battle was yet to come. Na worked quickly on the damaged communication array. Her blue fingers moved with surprising speed as she connected wires and replaced broken parts. "How is it going?" Jun asked, returning from checking on their prisoners. "I've restored some power," Na said without looking up. "But the main transmitter is badly damaged. We might be able to send a simple emergency signal, but nothing more." Jun looked at the sky again. "It will have to be enough." Na connected the last wire, and the panel lit up dimly. "There, let's try it." Jun sat at the control panel and typed in a short message. "EMERGNC. Under ATTCK. VURLAXIN warship APPROASHing. KORUS asteroid build. Coordinates follow." He added their exact location and sent the signal. The system beeped once, then went silent. "Did it work?" Na asked. "I think so," Jun said. "But even if it did, I don't know if help can reach us in time." Na checked her blaster. "Then we keep fighting." Jun smiled at her determination. "Yes, we keep fighting." They prepared for the warship's arrival. Jun moved their remaining mining explosives to strategic points around their landing area. Na programmed the ship's small defense system to target anything that approached. 3 hours passed. The asteroid rotated slowly, bringing the red sun into view. Its light cast long shadows across the rocky surface. "There." Na pointed to a small light in the distance, growing larger. "That's a ship dropping out of faster-than-light travel." Jun used his binoculars. Vorlaxian design. Heavy weapons. At least 20 crew. Na's frills drooped slightly. "We can't fight that." "We don't need to win," Jun said. "We just need to hold them off until the treaty expires. That's less than 5 hours now." The warship approached slowly, taking a position about 1 kilometer above the asteroid's surface. A smaller craft detached from its belly and descended toward them. "Landing craft," Jun said. "Get ready." They took cover behind the rocks near their ship. The landing craft touched down about 200 meters away. Its door opened, and 10 Vorlaxian soldiers in full battle armor stepped out. "That's a full assault team," Na whispered. "They're not taking any chances." The soldiers spread out, moving carefully toward the Star Runner. When they were 50 meters away, Jun pressed a button on his remote. The first explosive detonated, sending rocks and dust high into the air. 2 soldiers were thrown back by the blast. The others took cover and began firing toward Jun and Na's position. "Move to position 2, Jun said. They crawled backward through a small tunnel they had prepared, emerging behind a different rock formation. Jun triggered the second explosive as the soldiers approached their previous hiding spot. More confusion, more dust. For nearly an hour, they played this game of hide and seek, using their knowledge of the terrain to stay ahead of the soldiers. But they were running out of explosives and places to hide. "We need to get back to the ship," Jun said as they crouched behind a boulder. "If we can take off, we might be able to escape." Na looked doubtful. "The warship will catch us easily." Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook. A bright light flashed in the sky above them. "What was that?" Na asked. Jun looked up with his binoculars. His face broke into a wide smile. "That," he said, "is the human defense fleet." 5 large ships had appeared in the space above them. They were sleek and powerful, their weapons already targeting the Vorlaxian warship. "Your message got through," Na said, her frills moving in excitement. The human ships surrounded the Vorlaxian warship, which now looked small in comparison. A voice boomed across all communication channels. "Vorlaxian vessel, this is Captain Hadpark of the Human Defense Fleet. You are in violation of the Galactic Treaty by attacking a registered human mining claim. Power down your weapons immediately." The Vorlaxian soldiers on the ground stopped their advance, looking up at the sky in confusion. A smaller human ship landed near the Star Runner. 6 armed humans in spacesuits rushed out, taking positions around Jun and Na's ship. "Captain Kim," one of them called. "Are you there? This is Lieutenant Min of the HDV Reliant." Jun stood up, keeping his blaster ready. "Here, we're coming out." He and Na moved carefully toward the human soldiers. The Vorlaxian assault team, seeing they were now outnumbered, dropped their weapons. As they reached the human ship, Jun recognized the captain walking down the ramp. "Ha! I can't believe it's you." Captain Hadpark, an old friend from Jun's military days, grinned at him. "When they said a crazy human was fighting off a Vorlaxian warship with mining explosives, I knew it had to be you." The human defense fleet quickly took control of the situation. The Vorlaxian soldiers were disarmed and taken to Captain Park's ship. The warship in orbit surrendered without a fight when it saw it was outnumbered. Jun, Na, and Captain Park sat in the Star Runner's small kitchen area, drinking hot tea. "Your distress signal reached us just in time," Captain Park explained. "I was already patrolling near the border because of the treaty expiration. When I saw your name on the message, I brought every ship I could." "Thank you, old friend," Jun said. "You saved our lives." Na had been quiet, her frills moving in small, worried patterns. "What will happen to the Vorlaxian soldiers?" she finally asked. "They'll be held until we sort this out," Captain Park said. "But we found something interesting on their landing craft." "Show them, Lieutenant." A young officer handed Captain Park a datapad. He passed it to Jun, who read it with Na looking over his shoulder. "These are orders from someone named Balter," Jun said. "Who is that?" "Mining Guild Director," Na explained, her frills now fully extended in anger. "A corrupt official who has been trying to take control of all Vorlaxian mining operations." "The orders don't mention the Vorlaxian government," Captain Park pointed out. "This looks like a private operation, not an official one." Na's eyes widened. "That means my father was forced by Balter, not by our government." "There's more," Captain Park said. "We contacted the Vorlaxian Central Authority about this incident. They're sending representatives to investigate. They're very concerned about a guild director starting a conflict that could break the treaty." The communications panel beeped. Lieutenant Min answered it, then turned to them. "Sir, the treaty expiration time has officially passed. Captain Kim's claim is now permanently registered." A cheer went up from the human soldiers. June smiled and reached out to shake Na's hand. Instead, she pressed her forehead against his in the Vorlaxian gesture of deep respect. "We did it," she said softly. 2 days later, a Vorlaxian diplomatic ship arrived. The officials apologized formally to June for the actions of the mining guild. Balter had been arrested and would face serious charges. "There is someone here who wishes to see you," one official told Na. Moktal stepped forward from behind the officials. He looked tired, but no longer afraid. "Father." Na moved quickly to him. "My daughter," Moktal said, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. Baltor threatened to have you arrested if I didn't help them. I never thought they would try to harm you." "I understand, Father," Na said. "It's over now." While Na talked with her father, Captain Park pulled June aside. "The mining rights to this asteroid belt are worth a fortune," he said. "You could buy your own fleet of ships now." June watched Na and her father. "I have a better idea." Later that day, June called everyone together on the main asteroid where their claim marker still stood. "I have registered the final claim documents," he announced. "The operation will be called Kim Na Mining Corporation." Na's frills colored brightly in surprise. "Kim Na?" "Yes," June said, handing her a datapad. "You're listed as equal partner, not employee. Half the company belongs to you." Moktal's frills extended fully in shock. A female co-owner with a human? This is unprecedented. "It's the right thing to do," June said simply. "Nay earned it." "What about your debt to the captain?" Moktal asked, confused. "Is it not paid?" June smiled. "It was paid the moment Nay chose to stand by me against the attackers. Honor has been satisfied on all sides." The Vorlaxian officials looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. They could not challenge a legal human claim after the treaty expiration. "I would like to stay and help build our company," Nay said to June. "But I need to return home first to help my father clear his name." "Of course," June agreed. "The mining equipment is on its way. I'll start setting up while you're gone." "I'll be back soon," Nay promised. "This is just the beginning." 1 month later, Nay returned to the asteroid belt. She found June supervising a team of human and Vorlaxian workers as they set up the main mining facility. "Welcome back, partner," June said as Na stepped off her small ship, just in time to see the first shipment launch. They walked together to a viewing platform overlooking the operation. A large container ship was being loaded with processed ore. "What started as a debt has become something much more valuable," Na said, watching the busy workers below. "A partnership," June agreed. "And perhaps," Na said, her frills moving in a pattern June had come to recognize as affection, "even a friendship between our peoples."